We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single kind. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America. Systemic racism that has plagued our nation for far, far too long. I said that over the course of the past year that the blinders have been taken off the nation, the American people. What many Americans didn't see or had simply refused to see couldn't be ignored any longer. Those 8 minutes and 46 seconds that took George Floyd's life opened the eyes of millions of Americans and millions of people around all over the world. It was the knee on the neck of justice, and it wouldn't be forgotten. And it's not white Americans' fault, but just a fact.
The very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast.
In this number,
good evening in the Central. Good evening in the Mountain. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparationist perspective, bringing you those ADOT's hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, it's breaking news on your Ida B. Wells 2.0 presents anti-Black racism. Yes, we're going to talk about how these two teenagers had a shootout with the deputies and were taken alive, as juxtaposed against yet another black man being executed by the race soldiers in Minnesota. They were quick to release the Bonnie and Clyde white teenagers having a shootout with the race soldiers, who, oh, by the way, didn't seem to dismiss the training they had received because they were able to capture these white teenagers alive, unakin to Ma'Khia Bryant, who was wielding a butter knife, unakin to Tamir Rice, who was playing with a toy gun. They managed to beg and plead with these white teenagers to drop their weapons, to manage to take them alive, and they were in a full-blown video recreation of the nonsense they feed themselves consistently, okay? They were in a full live 4Max, 4D 4Max, oh my God, okay? Shootout with the cops. And so folks that want to sit here and tell me they need more training, I keep telling y'all, this ain't got nothing to do with training and everything to do with ethnically cleansing adults out this piece while making us fourth-class citizens in the country our ancestors built with their lives. It's a modern-day apartheid over in this piece for adults because they don't want to pay this reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. Hey, Cynthia, Adeyemi, and Brian Johnson, thank you so much for joining the live. Please, I keep forgetting to wave my banner. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I'm being shadow banned, so more people see it after the fact than they do live. But the show must go on. We must expose the puckery. I'll be back after this with all the puckery of my Arona K Ganda, Arona K Gate, right after this breaking news segment, because y'all know I've got to keep the spotlight on the anti-black racism that's still occurring, so that maybe the Biden administration's benign neglect can finally do something with the anti-lynch bill and make it law. It's only been 100 years. As they weaponize black executions by their very own race soldiers, whom they intentionally hire as not to impede on their First Amendment rights to have gainful employment with our tax dollars in the police departments throughout the country. Biden weaponized that to give Asians protections. And I'll never let the Democrats forget it. And 80.5 million. When you add up all the numbers, it ain't no 49.5. Get your calculator out and add up all the numbers. That's 80.5 million to the AAPI, while trying to pass off a study to pander for your vote because 22 is rolling around here. Now, I'm all for blue Congress, but we're going to talk about it on Monday, how 8 Democrats make a combined $43 million and voted down a $15 an hour minimum wage. It's time for them to go. Because what you fail to realize is there are a bunch of Republicans in Democratic clothing sitting up pretending to be Democrat and voting alongside the Republicans to tether us to the bottom and make us eat the cost of slavery. We're going to be fourth-class citizens in this country if we don't get our head out of our proverbial asses and get politically engaged and involved in this fight. Brian says you should make a second banner showcasing your new website email. Thank you, Brian. That's a grand idea, friend. Yes, it is. I will be doing that and more, but I'm going to put that in my notes right now. Trying to just get 300 videos, download, upload over there. We still haven't gone public. I think the most you can do is go over there to the reprospect.com and join the email so I can find y'all. Unakin to how I lost 4,500 subscribers. They're coming back slow. I think I'm up to around 300 out of 4,500 that I lost in Racebook on a new page. If you want for me to send you a friend request, Gmail me at the reprospect@gmail. I got a lot to uncover and I got to come back in 45 minutes. But thank you, Brian, as always, for your contributions to the broadcast, to the channel, and to all of you who have contributed. I can't thank you enough. You are affording me a chance to be independent of ScrewTube, Racebook, and Patreon. With your help, I'll own 100% of my content. My voice, where no one can push a button and decide my TR Ruth is too MU much. Okay? It'll be ours. So let's talk about it because we got to shut this one down and go back up with the part 2 of Arona K. Ganda and Arona K. Gate. Okay? Now that's the richest part of the 2 parts. The first half this afternoon, we dealt with gain of function research, how our tax dollars are being used to create diseases, to create vaccines. That was part 1. Look up the archives. They will not be on there for much longer. Tonight, I got to get that up off of there before they take it down. Okay? So that's not going to be up there much longer. It's disguised in a whole nother title. But it was earlier today. Just go over to the Reparationist Perspective channel in YouTube, and you will find it. It's the earlier segment. I'm not even categorized it yet. But after this segment, we're going to talk about the cost on ADOX for this pandemic and how they're giving away weed and lottery tickets and reduced sentences and Krispy Kreme and vacation sweepstakes and lottery tickets. Why do you think that is, family? Because only 12% of our 41 million have taken this vax. We're going to talk about why we don't take this vax and puck with the vax. We're going to talk about all of what's happened to clear us off the monopoly board. That's coming back after this segment. We're going to shut this one down and start again. So I hope you come back. It's going to be rich. So let's talk about this puck rewrite. Cheer. Let me stop it because I may have to share the video. Stop. Sheriff's body cam footage shows teenage Bonnie and Clyde, white teenagers, Bonnie and Clyde shooting at the Florida deputies. Let's just watch it right now. Let's watch the video and I'll take a sip. Let's turn it on. This is, woo-wee, fix it black, Jesus. Lord have mercy. Okay. Here we go. Well, of course not without a damn commercial. Good Lord.
Damn.
Shot fired. All right, Central. Location gun. Shot fired. Everybody get hard cover. Hard cover.
Pierce female has a long gun pointed toward me. I have to hold my cover. Stand by. It's either a shotgun or a long gun. Female has it in her hand. Juvenile male looks like he has something in his hand as well. They're at the back sliding glass door on my side, which would be facing the 3. shooting out the rear window toward my direction. Stand by. Female has a shotgun in her hand. Stand by. Put the gun down now!
Hey guys, just hold behind hard cover. Let's not shoot these kids, man. Let's just hold on. Take our time.
10-4, they're shooting at me. Hold it. Hold the air. She's re-racking around inside the shotgun.
All right, let's not engage them anymore. Let's not challenge them. Just hold behind hard cover. We're just going to hang out here.
Okay.
Unless they come out and they're going to be compliant, let's not go ahead and try to escalate this any further, guys. Everybody stand by.
WC4, she's racked around the shotgun. The window is busted out on the patio side. So if she comes out, she's going to have the firearm.
Okay, well then you challenge her, but let's hold behind hard cover and let's
Do not approach that door. She's got a shotgun pointed at that door inside on entry.
Just so I'm clear for everybody, nobody should be approaching anything.
Stand by. She's got the AK and a shotgun. She's wrapping around the top of her neck. Shot fired. God damn it. Shots fired again. Female now has a pistol. Juvenile male has a long gun. So does the female. Stand by.
She's pointing the gun. Pointing the gun behind the trash can. Behind the trash can. Central, shots fired. Shots fired. Elio, shots fired.
The boys out is retreating inside.
Everybody stand by. Stand by.
She's down behind the garbage can.
He's right there.
All right, guys. Let's just chill. Everybody hold up. Take a break. Billy, get back. Come on.
I think the female's down.
Stand by. Where's the little boy? The boy went back inside.
Come on out!
Inside.
Come on out! Come out! Okay!
The boy's throwing guns. Stand by.
Put your hands up! Keep your hands up! Sawicki, calling to you. The female's on the ground behind the car. The female's on the ground there.
Hey, let's get him secure. Get a status on her. Get him secure. We still got movement. Hey, we got movement.
Going back towards you.
Air one female still slightly movement.
Rescue, we need rescue central. Go ahead and start staging
Is he secure? Start moving up.
Rescue will come up when she's secure.
Light her up. With a light.
No, but I don't know if I wrapped in the stage.
You got eyes on
All right,
her?
well, let's worry about getting her secure. Rescue's right here at the community center. I had them.
Get your hands up.
Stop talking. 10-3.
Okay. Get up on her. Gray, you get that rifle. Don't reach towards that gun. Step on that rifle. Step on that shotgun.
Go over the house. We need some coverage on the house.
Clear her. Get gloves on. You got the house. Okay? You got the house. Get gloves on.
Get gloves on now. I got the shotgun.
Somebody go get You get off her. Get the gun. Okay. Hey, stop. Relax. Get that shotgun out of here.
Whoever's got a med kit, some type of med kit, I need it up here now in the garage. All deputies are code 4. Bello Winhoven's going for his med kit. All right, tell him to step it up.
There you have it, family. Hold on, let me stop it. It's still going. Hold on. Good Lord. This is a hot ass mess. Like I was sharing with my friends, my comrades in the chat, they would have bought in the SWAT had that been a black teen boy and a black teen girl. These Mickey Fickies were 12 and 14 years old reenacting now video games. Hold on, fam. So let's get into it. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood released body cam video from a standoff and shootout with 2 armed runaway teens Tuesday night at a Deltona home that ended when deputies shot one of the suspects, a 14-year-old girl. The footage shows one of his deputies urging fellow cops to take hard cover as the 2 runaways, the girl and a 12-year-old boy, fired at them with a shotgun and an AK-47. As the deputies seek shelter behind what Chitwood called the best tree in Volusia County, as far as I'm concerned, he calls out, everyone make sure you have hard cover. Not bringing the SWATs, not bringing the planes overhead, not bringing the snipers. Then the 9-minute video, which mixes black and white, color and aerial footage, reveals some of what went down in East Central Florida. We got movement, the deputy says. The footage captures a barrage of gunfire and ultimately a deputy firing a shot at the girl as she walks out of the garage of a home on Enterprise Osteen Road with a shotgun in her hand. She levels it at the deputies. The Miami Herald is not naming the pair due to their ages. Was that the same consideration Ma'Khia Bryant got? Welcome to the anti-black racism report. They took multiple rounds, Chitwood said at the 42-minute conference. One banana clip was empty from the AK-47. I know from the radio transmissions that a 12-year-old opened fire on us. I know that the 14-year-old opened fire on us with a shotgun and then walked out and threatened one of my sergeants and told him she was going to kill him. She's still alive. And we didn't return fire after she threatened to kill one of his sergeants with a shotgun. And we didn't return fire. But after she came out of the garage, hey, there was nothing left that we could do. We had to do what we had to do. We were begging and pleading, please don't make us shoot you. That's the other part of the video you didn't get to see. They only share 4 minutes here. They were begging and pleading with them kids. Chitwood described the teens as Bonnie and Clyde. You see how they like to glamorize the puckery of these teenage devils? Click Orlando reported, referring to the Great Depression era bank robbers who were killed in a police ambush at ages 23 and 25 in 1934. He also said deputies tried to de-escalate the situation before bullets flew their way. They almost lost their lives to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, Sheriff Chitwood said. If it wasn't for their training and their supervision, somebody would have ended up dead. So they don't actually need more training not to execute us. They just simply need to give a damn. Hold on, family. Sorry, fam. According to deputies, the teens ran from Enterprise's Florida United Methodist Children's Home, which is about 1.5 miles from the Deltona house that sheriff deputies say they broke into and from where they grabbed several of the homeowners' weapons to use against officers. The juveniles face charges of attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer and armed burglary. The girl had surgery for her wounds and was in stable condition, according to the sheriff's office. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating, and the 8 deputies involved are on standard temporary paid administrative leave, according to Chitwood. Let's watch this video. Must share all the puckery. Welcome to the live. Let's watch this one. All the white splaining. Let's watch it.
I've been in this business for
Sorry for
25
these stupid
years
ads.
now. It has literally
I paid for no ads, and yet I'm in this article.
At this location, where a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old decided to take on deputies tonight. This all begins at around 5 o'clock tonight, when one of our juvenile homes, which is a complete failure and disgrace to the juvenile justice system in the state of Florida, a place called Fumps, a 12-year-old who is a severe diabetic, who has to have insulin every 4 hours, runs away. And he runs away with a 14-year-old. That 14-year-old that he runs away with, you may remember, over the last year or so, stole a bunch of puppies, gets put into a halfway house in Flagler County, burns the home down. So what do? They send her to Volusia County, because the juvenile justice system works so well here in the state of Florida. So now they're reported missing. So the deputies in the Deltona area go out looking for this 12-year-old and this 14-year-old, because the 12-year-old is insulin dependent, and the 12-year-old, if he doesn't get his medication within 4 hours, it's going to be a critical medical emergency. So every time the deputies encounter these 2 little desperados, they run from us. So at around 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight, deputies are out on the bike trail behind this home when a passerby flags them down and says, I happen to hear a bunch of breaking glass at a home. So the deputies walk up to the home. They discover that there's forced entry to the home. They take a step back and contact the homeowner and say, should anybody have access to your home? As resources are pouring in to surround the property, the homeowner says, nobody should be home, but I have 3 firearms in the house, an AK-47, a pump shotgun, and a handgun, and 200 rounds of ammunition. So as deputies are surrounding the home and try to establish a rapport, they are met with gunfire. At 8:28, one of my sergeants, who was the first to arrive, Sergeant Donnie Maxwell, takes fire multiple times, never returns fire. At 8:31, one of our units reports they're being fired at by the 12 and the 14-year-old. At 8:33, another call comes out from another group of deputies surrounding the home saying that shots were fired. At 8:40, the 14-year-old emerges from the property and threatens to kill Sergeant Maxwell. At 8:54, the juvenile male armed with an AK-47 opens fire on deputies. Eventually, after all this goes on and we try to de-escalate, we throw a cell phone into the house to try to talk to them. The 14-year-old comes out of the garage with a pump shotgun, levels it at deputies, and despite warnings to drop it, she walks back into the garage. She comes back a second time, and that's when deputies open fire after taking multiple rounds. After they wound her, they automatically transition to try to save her life. Apply tourniquets, get first aid in here. They confront the 12-year-old who is still armed with the AK-47 in the garage. After about 30 seconds, he decides to drop the firearm. I don't know what to say. Where have we gone wrong that 12-year-old and 14-year-old think it's okay to take on law enforcement? What the hell is the Department of Juvenile Justice doing, sending these kids to places that can't handle them? We talk about juvenile justice reform. Deputies did everything they could tonight to de-escalate, and they almost lost their lives to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. Can you imagine the firepower in that home in the hands of 12 and 14-year-olds that want to threaten. They open fire on us and then come out and defy us to shoot them because they're going to kill deputies. This is something I've never seen in 35 years of policing. And I'm sad to say, thank God my career's starting to come to an end, because I don't know what the future of law enforcement looks like in this country. They want to defund us. They want to sanction us and take qualified immunity away. They want to make us the bad guy. And yet you have 12 and 14-year-old thugs that want to shoot it out. And you haven't seen this crime scene yet. The deputies had nowhere to hide but trees. There was no cover other than their vehicles and a tree. And any of you that are listening to me know an AK-47 is going through an engine block, it's going through a car, and it's going through your bulletproof vest.
Now, you heard the barrage of excuses, the way they're glamorizing these teenage thugs. As I mentioned in the chat, I don't know any of our children who have been caught up in the dreaded social services system forever because we can't even afford to manage our own children. I don't know of any of them having done something this egregious. No matter the rapes and the beatings, the emotional and physical violence perpetuated onto them, none of it has caused this. I didn't see them white-splaining what happened with Makia, knowing that her own sister threatened if they did not remove her from the foster home that she was currently residing with Makia, that she was going to go postal and should not be held accountable. The numerous reports, the numerous runaways in that home where Makia Bryant's foster mother allowed two ex-foster kids who are now adults to come over and harass Makia Bryant, which resulted in her trying to defend herself, calling the cops to get help against two grown-ass women harassing her about not doing the dishes. Wasn't the first time they were over to harass her. She's wielding a butter knife, but she gets executed. Her whole chest gets blown open. But this little devil, this little glacier donkey, has AK-47s, assault rifles, gets in a full-fledged shootout, threatens to kill you, and she's recovering after surgery. Tamir Rice was shot within, 20 seconds? They pulled up and just straight blasted him. He had a toy gun. And now you want to glamorize it. You want to blame it on the video games. You want to blame it on the same Department of Children's Services that fails our kids on a regular. You want to label them Bonnie and Clyde, glamorize it. And then scratch your proverbial balls as to how we got here. Really? Now you want to invoke training. Now you want to talk about how we want to defund your asses because you have been hired to execute who? ADOCs, who have been neutralized economically. Because not to hire you on the police department is a violation of your First Amendment right to be a domestic terrorist with a badge because you're in our communities executing us with impunity. You don't want us to put an end to the qualified immunity so that you can continue to have a license to exercise and implement your supervised training where your white glacier donkey children, men and women, are concerned. I've shown y'all in the archives how they come after the police all the freaking time, even have killed them and have been taken alive. But you want us to just be quiet while Biden gives the Asians protections, and our anti-lynch bill has yet to be made into law. Even the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the no-knock warrants and the chokeholds would not have saved Mr. George Floyd, but for the very clause you want to remove, and you use this to politicize keeping your job as a domestic terrorist. You use this incident to bring up defunding the police and ending qualified immunity, because you know that once we do that, you race soldiers will be out of a job. That's why the KKK that currently sits in the government is putting a stop to it and won't get it done. So let's juxtapose that, family, before I got to jump off. Let's juxtapose that with another brother in where? Minnesota, that's been executed by the race soldiers. Let's see if the video has been released. Let's see if the video was released as fast as this was released. We didn't see the video of Mr. Ronald Green being dragged and tasered to his execution for 2 years. Let's see if this current day execution in Minnesota has video. Aren't you excited? Let's see. Stand by. According to the authorities, and hopefully they have video in this article to back it up. This is ABC News. The black man that was killed by Minnesota deputies had fired a gun. So let's see if the body cameras were rolling and if we got video footage of that to confirm what they allege. Authorities say a man wanted on a weapons violation fired a gun from inside his vehicle before he was fatally shot by members of a federal task force as they were trying to arrest him. Authorities said Friday that a man wanted on a weapons violation fired a gun before deputies fatally shot him in Minneapolis, a city on edge since George Floyd's execution, my word, more than a year ago under an officer's knee, and the more recent fatal police shooting of Dante Wright in a nearby suburb. Family and friends identified the man killed Thursday as Winston Boogie Smith Jr., a 32-year-old father of 3. Shelley Hopkins, who was in a long-time relationship with Smith, told the Associated Press that despite any mistakes Smith has made, he didn't deserve to be killed. Executed is my word. Quote, "I wasn't there," she said of Thursday's shooting. "I don't know exactly what happened, but I know him, and he didn't deserve that. He had the best heart out of anybody I've ever met in my life." Members of the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force were trying to arrest Smith on a warrant for allegedly being a felon in possession of a gun, authorities said. The Marshal Service said in a statement Thursday that Smith, who was in a parked vehicle, did not comply with law enforcement and produced a handgun, resulting in task force members firing upon the subject. He produced a handgun like Philando Castile was attempting to before he was executed by the Asian glacier donkey. I thought you said he shot the gun. He produced a gun and it required him being executed while these 2 white inferior glacier donkeys were taken alive, 12 and 14. Produced a gun. Nothing here says he fired it. Let's read on. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said Friday that 2 sheriff's deputies, one from Hennepin County and one from Ramsey County, fired their weapons striking Smith. The state investigators also said evidence indicates Smith fired his gun. Then why did you say that instead of producing a handgun? Saying a handgun and spent cartridge were found inside the car. Or was it planted inside the car? Smith died at the scene. State investigators said Smith's passenger, a 27-year-old woman, was treated for injuries from glass debris. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said the U.S. Marshal Service does not. So there was a passenger. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said the U.S. Marshal Service does not allow officers on its North Star Fugitive Task Force to use body cameras. And there is no squad camera footage of the shooting. This is what we're doing. So, you don't send in the police, you send in a task force that's not required to use cameras. We got a 27-year-old we ain't heard from yet, treated for injuries from glass debris. Is anybody watching her hospital room? You know, like y'all spend $1 bazillion to protect Kim Potter, who executed Dwayne Wright after yelling out taser, 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 training the race soldiers in training on how to get away with murder. Or like you went to the police chief's home after you guys ruled that the execution of Mr. Andrew Brown was justified because he tried to drive away to save his life after you shot him in the arm 4 times. And the protesters showed up to the home of the chief of the police. Like how y'all spent $1 bazillion to protect him. Is she being protected? Since y'all think it's okay to roll up on a black man and tell us from your lying ass purview what went down while not being required to have cameras on you. Is this what we're doing now? Y'all just gonna replace the police with these task force that aren't required to have cameras on? Not on the vehicles, not on their body? This is the ethnic cleansing of ADOX. We are being purged. We are being purged. But the U.S. Marshal Service said that while deputy marshals do not wear body cameras, the Department of Justice permits state, local, and tribal task force officers to do so. Waylon Hughes, a close friend of Smith, told reporters that Smith loved music, writing comedy skits, and posting them on social media. Hughes said he didn't know Smith to carry a gun. And Hopkins also said she didn't know that he had one. Family and friends demand transparency and call for the release of all footage from security and surveillance cameras in the area, along with information about the officers involved. I don't have their names to look up their records of complaints. So y'all couldn't disclose their names? They're adults. They're on paid leave with our tax dollars. And you can't tell us their names? At an evening news conference outside the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, family members and activists said they don't believe there is no video. I don't believe it either. Department of Public Safety spokesman Bruce Gordon said no surveillance video has been identified. But authorities are still investigating. The police get to police the police. Quote, this man had a family and he's just like anybody else, said Cadell Smith, Winston Smith's brother. People always trying to pin something on a man and try to identify him as a criminal, especially if he's black. Smith also questioned the police account of what happened. Quote, you've got 7 unmarked cars and you shoot a man in his car. You don't even give him a chance to get out. You're the U.S. Marshals, he said. You're supposed to be highly trained men and you can't handle a simple situation. According to online court records, Smith was wanted for allegedly being a felon in possession of a firearm in 2019. So that's what y'all doing, going through the history to find out which black men you can pick off, involving just the right task force that's not required to wear body cameras or have cameras in their cars. Did you do so in an area where there's no cameras? And all we got is this 27-year-old who remains nameless? The felony stems from a 2017 assault and robbery of Smith's ex-girlfriend. Smith pleaded guilty to 1 count of aiding and abetting first-degree aggravated robbery for attacking his ex-girlfriend while another woman took her purse. Smith was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but the prison sentence was stayed for 3 years, provided he didn't break the law. With the felony conviction, Smith was barred from possessing a firearm. In December 2019, he was charged in Ramsey County with 2 counts of illegally possessing a firearm. Then why not take him to jail? At least he'd be alive. If he violated the terms of his, waived sentence for 3 years, why not have arrested him in December 2019 and make him do the time? According to the complaint, officers arrested Smith on a probation violation and found a handgun under the driver's seat of the car he had been in earlier. Smith was also charged with fleeing police in Hennepin County last year. According to the complaint in that case, officers in Bloomington began chasing Smith at a high speed, but stopped when he started driving the wrong way on a highway. And it took you up until now to execute him? Hopkins said Smith was a spiritual man who prayed before every meal. The 2 biggest things he cared about in this world was making people happy and being there for his kids, she said. Hopkins said she knew Smith had some court issues, but said police, quote, tried to make a case against him that didn't exist. She said Smith had been harassed by police for years and had numerous cars impounded. She said he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder from his interactions with the police. After Thursday's shooting, some people vandalized buildings and stole from area businesses, police said. 9 people were arrested on possible charges, including suspicion of riot, assault, arson, and damage to property. Graffiti reading MPLS still hates cops. And no trial for them marked the building next to the parking ramp where Smith was shot. There has been tension between police and residents since the deaths of Floyd, a black man who was executed last year after he was pinned to the ground by Minneapolis officers, and Wright, a black motorist who was fatally shot in April by an officer, Kim Potter, in the nearby suburb of Brooklyn Center. Tensions in Minneapolis already had risen Thursday after crews removed concrete barriers that blocked traffic at a Minneapolis intersection that has become a memorial to Floyd. Crews cleared artwork, flowers, and other items from 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, where Floyd was executed, informally known as George Floyd Square, but community activists quickly put up makeshift barriers. Let me come over and see what y'all got to say about it. Before I log us out and jump right back in. I see you, Denise Jarrett, expert stylist. Thank you for joining the live. Wow, the gaslighting is so obvious. Diabetes and being in foster care is supposed to have contributed to this behavior, says Cynthia Adeyemi of the white inferior Glacier Donkey children, teenagers that got into a shootout with the cops and were taken alive. Cynthia says, you're right, Angela, our children are pathologized. Brian says, you wouldn't need QI in this case since the police didn't run off and shoot these kids. Besides, they were equipped with lethal weapons, which would have justified them being shot and killed. And again, to what happened to Ma'Khia Bryant for wielding a butter knife after calling the race soldiers for help because 2 grown-ass women were attacking her for not having done the dishes. And also, the way they came after Tamir Rice and executed him within like 40 seconds, no questions asked, over a toy gun, and we still don't have justice. Brian says, infusing politics into his speech. I wouldn't be surprised if more of these desperado incidents crop up as a way to justify not ending qualified immunity. My conspiracy side eye is now wide open. No, that's your third eye, your God eye. It's my God eye every time I come over here. Him mentioning QI, qualified immunity, was a dead giveaway for me. Wonder how many more of this is in the works. They can use this little Johnny and Susie as decoys to argue against police reform. Cynthia says, dang, Brian, that is disturbing. Cynthia says, what? WTF? Joel's, thank you, love, my diaper buddy. Welcome to the live. So sick of this shiggity. Oh, yeah. And I'm keeping a spotlight on anti-Black racism. This is your Ida B. Wells 2.0 series. Since the benign neglect of our government and our corporate with 3K news media, you're going to always come over to the Reparations Perspective channel and get it from the ADOC side. Brian says, Black people are denied the right to habeas corpus. These race soldiers play judge, jury, executioner, and victim all at once during the scenes in question. With that said, family, I'm going to shut this broadcast down. I'll be right back with part 2 of Arona K. Ganda and Arona K. Gate. This is the most important segment. You've got to come back and see what's happening to ADOX as we are being cleared off the monopoly board of participation in life through this pandemic. I hope to see you there. I love you, Black. I love you, strong. Peace.